We welcome you to this special Lafayette Council meeting, City Council meeting. This meeting is called for reconsideration of City Ordinance Number CO-077-2020, which the Mayor President vetoed on September 11, 2020. Normal City Council business will occur at the regular City Council meeting immediately following this meeting. Veto ordinance. Jerry, please read.
The Lafayette Mayor President on Friday, September 11th, 2020, returned ordinance number City Ordinance 77-2020 vetoed, and has provided a statement of explanation which has been published in the official journal on Tuesday, September 15th, 2020. In accordance with Section 213C of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government Home Rule Charter, vetoed ordinances shall be submitted to the Lafayette City Council no later than the next regular meeting held after publication of veto statement. Also, in accordance with Section 213B of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government Home Rule Charter, all ordinances vetoed by the Lafayette Mayor President shall be vetoed in full, except that the Lafayette Mayor President shall have authority to veto individual appropriation items in ordinances adopting the operating and capital improvement budgets and amendments thereto. Accordingly, City Ordinance 77-2020 is submitted for council reconsideration. City Ordinance 77-2020, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Council authorizing the hiring of a special counsel to represent the City of Lafayette in its dispute with the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government Administration regarding the proper interpretation and implementation of the joint decision rules in the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government Home Rule Charter.
I need a motion and a second. Motion by Mr. Lazar. Second by Ms. Cook. Council discussion. I see there's none. Any blue cards, Ms. Cook? Ms. Veronica?
We do have speakers. First speaker, Tara Fogelman-Laxey. She's still here? Okay, well, when she comes in, we'll come back to her. The next speaker is Keith Falk. Okay, the next speaker is Jackie Lau. Okay. And we did have some call-ins. I'm going to get the call-ins on. Mr. Jamal Taylor's up to speak. You may begin speaking, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. I am disheartened that I am having to speak to you by phone tonight, but I certainly had something else planned. What I would like to say as it relates to the special counsel is that it seems time and time again there are issues that exist between our city council and our city council's ability to do the business of the city without contention from the council of the mayor. In government, historically and categorically, the legislative body retains counsel to protect the interests of the legislative body. Very similarly, the executive branch engages counsel in a manner in which they are able to protect the interests of the executive. Where there is not counsel for the city, it allows the counsel for the executive to make a determination that may or may not be in the interest or the position of the legislative body. I have read, I'm not an attorney by any stretch of the imagination, but I believe that the city has a right demonstration of our necessity in protecting the interests of both bodies. There have been some decisions that are made that I think that were made that were questionable. I think that we have shown in several instances an inability to engage meaningfully in legislation and ordinances that meet the law, particularly the ordinance on the sidewalk, which I believe is a slap in the face of the right to protest. And so what I would say is we must ensure that both sides of our government have a right to protect themselves, where decisions are being made that are not necessarily in the best interest of the collective. I thank you, and I would ask that you vote to override this veto.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Tara Laxey.
Our mayor parish president has decided to do whatever the heck he wants to do.
Will, you're on.
With everything, and I concur with Jamal, with everything that's been going on here in our city, you know, I do, especially with our budget and our fights with our recreational centers and keeping them open, and the 37 employees that have been fired even before the end of the budget came into place. Seems like, Josh Guillory, that you choose to always have it your way. Our city needs to have its own representation. Because clearly, it seems like it is a one-sided legal idea coming from the gentleman that we have sitting now. I'm asking you to override this if you can, however it's done. Yes, it costs us money to have our own, with the city of Lafayette, representation. But again, I'll go back to the money. If Josh can have 2 assistants that help him do his job, if the slave owner cement statue can have its security and maintenance, if Carlos Harvin can keep his job without doing shit for the community to bridge the gap, excuse my language, I apologize. But he's not doing his job. Clearly, he goes ghost even whenever someone barbecues in the street.
Okay, let's keep it to the
It
audience.
is to it. So it will cost us money for our own legal representation. But golly, there's a whole bunch of wasted money on Josh's side. So let's go ahead and make some cuts. If that's what the issue is about, is money, let's make some cuts. Because, I mean, at the same time, we found the extra, $500,000 last week. We're transferring this and that here and there. We have the money. I mean, basically, if Josh wanted to, he could find it, because it seems like he finds it quite often whenever he feels like it. I am tired of one-sided representation. I want our city to have its own representation. We are tired of the crumbs on the north side of town. We are tired of eating bologna sandwiches and noodles constantly. But it seems like the South Side gets their representation. That attorney represents more so the South Side of town and not the North Side of town. I want representation for the city of Lafayette. And stop being a toddler and acting like Trump because you're not getting what you want and how you want it.
Next speaker is on the phone. Will Teeley, you may begin speaking.
Hello, I live in City District 2. Councilman Andy Nakhan represents me, so thank you to him and thank you to everyone on the City Council. I would like to support the override and for the City Council to hire its own legal representation for the remainder of the budget process. Ladies and gentlemen, let me be clear. We have a crisis. The Parish Council was given a pass by the administration to usurp control from the Lafayette City Council and to exert illegal influence over city-only tax dollars and city-only millages. This not only violates the Louisiana State Constitution, it violates Section 504 of the Home Rule Charter, which states that the Lafayette City Council and the City Council alone shall have control over line items of the budget that are funded solely by city tax dollars. Yet that was not respected in the budget process, and it left us with a tainted budget that unfairly values parish priorities over city priorities. Furthermore, we cannot expect unbiased legal advice from our city parish attorney, who is charged to serve the administration, and more specifically the mayor president. He works for Mr. Guillory, not for the City Council. We saw that 2 weeks ago when he attempted to threaten and intimidate the City Council. Therefore, the City Council has one last option. It needs its own legal representation to protect city tax dollars. You know, I've watched the whole budget process play out, and it's tonight, where I actually feel like the City Council of Lafayette is acting like the City Council of Lafayette and is protecting and fighting for my city tax dollars and my city priorities. With this override, I finally feel like the nonstop meetings that I've been calling into, one after another, to voice my overwhelming concerns about the budget are finally starting to have some impact. Mr. Guillory and the Parish Council like to speak about a one parish sentiment, and that this shouldn't be a city versus parish fight. But it's really easy to say that when you're the aggressor. It's easy to say that when you're the one who's being unfair. Ask the victims. Ask the Lafayette City citizens who have spoken up nonstop at council meetings and town halls how they feel. To the City Council, do not sign off on any budget, even if November 1st comes and goes. The moment you vote in favor of a budget, Mr. Guillory can line item veto everything you care about, and then make the argument that both the City Council and the Parish Council needs to override his veto, even if it's a city-only matter. Do not sign off on the budget till you have a court ruling obtained by your newly hired legal counsel that Section 504 of the Home Rule Charter stands, and that you, and only you, the Lafayette City Council, can respond to a mayoral veto on a city-only issue. Some people may say this sounds bad, or that hiring legal representation is wasting tax dollars. But I argue that this is critical. This is the first year of the budget process under this newly formed government, and however this plays out will be precedent for years to come. Not standing up for the city of Lafayette now will open the door for parish councils to exert unfair control going forward for years to come. I call on every city councilman and councilwoman to vote in favor of this override. This is not political. It's not liberal or conservative. It's not Republican or Democrat. It's the city of Lafayette controlling city of Lafayette tax dollars. So please vote in favor of this. And to my councilman, Andy Nakhan, I ask, will you, as my city councilman, vote to represent me, your city constituent, and vote to protect my city tax dollars that I work so hard for? Thank you for letting me speak. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Next speaker, Keith Falk.
I know we're speaking to the issue of getting legal counsel for the city council.
State your name, please.
My name is Keith Falk. I am a concerned citizen of the city of Lafayette. To each government official, have y'all had a chance to look down and read the Home Rule Charter? To read the Home Rule Charter. Because right now, I feel like this city council is a joke. Y'all don't have full control of the city. Fix the Charter was supposed to do that, but that's not what they did. They gave y'all some power. Some power. How long will the parish continue to ride on the city's back? How long? Where did the parish tax dollars go? But yet they're allowed to make decisions on the municipality that has the money? It's just not right. It's just not right. We got a mayor president that everybody in the parish votes on, while other municipalities in the parish has a mayor. Us city constituents can't vote for their mayor. We can't vote for their chief of police, but yet our chief of police is appointed by someone that the parish and the city voted on. We don't want that. We don't want that. Nobody wants to address the big issue, but it's time to address the big issues and worry about the unfairness. Why? Why? Why do the parish have to continue riding on the city's back? And we also need a citizens review board with subpoena power. And we wouldn't be at the stage where we're at now. If we had an elected chief of police, the citizens could have went to him. But we can't go to the chief because we don't hire him. We didn't elect him. Mr. Lewis said in the previous meeting that we elected y'all to do a job. Well, as a city constituent, we elected this city council for the city to have fairness. And it's no fairness being done. It's no fairness. We got a CPA that could have possibly didn't do the due diligence. So, as a citizen, what does that let me know what to do? Hire a private CPA to start investigating this government? How long? How long will the city council sit back and allow the parish council to ride on their back? How long? How long will we have one person making the decision for the parish and the city? And obviously you can clearly see it's not in the best interest of the city. So we need somebody exactly dedicated and designed for the city. Broussard got a whole complex. You throw a party over there, you plug in, they got juice. Right here, where I stay in the city of Lafayette, the Bellion Park, it's no juice, no electricity. You can't plug in and say you're going to have a community gathering. Even before COVID-19, there was no electricity there. So it's time for the city of Lafayette to take control of the city of Lafayette. It's no more city parish. That should have been dealt with since Fix the Charter. It's no more mayor president. It's a parish president and a mayor. It's no more none of that. We want change, and we want it now.
Next speaker on the phone is Jared Eubanks. Mr. Eubanks, you may begin speaking.
Good evening. My name is Jared Eubanks. I'm a resident of City District 2 of Mr. Andy Knockan's district. I'm calling to ask you to override the constituents put you here because they wanted your voice to represent them. As a council member, you cover a much smaller area and can support the values and concerns of your constituents in a way the administration, tasked with representing the entire parish, cannot. Agree with it or not, it's important to remember that you were elected in the wake of Fix the Charter, a momentous shift in our government that was propelled to victory on the idea that an independent city council could represent the will of its constituents, leading to a more when it comes to the spending of our tax dollars. If you do not ensure that you are doing everything in your power to control and spend those dollars as your constituents would see most fit, you are forsaking the duty trusted to you. There have been serious legal concerns raised and pointed out in these very chambers. Concerns regarding clauses in the charter speaking directly to line item amendments of budget items paid for entirely by one fund or the other that we have not heard the city parish attorney speak to. Let's be clear, I don't fundamentally blame them. It is ridiculous to ask them to fairly represent both parties of a negotiation. That's an impossible situation. This would not only protect the city council, but also our city parish attorneys, who I think are being put in a position that is ethically murky regardless of their intention. I wish I could see this as a time we're coming together and trusting each other would solve all of our problems, but I can't feel that way after the dressing down the city council received by the city parish attorney, Mr. Logan, 2 weeks ago. All the while, his refusing to even acknowledge the plain language of the home rule charter allowing the hiring of independent counsel, as council member Mr. Lewis pointed out. Meanwhile, the administration's last-minute veto, so last minute it might not even be legal, of the parish tax millages, and in light of the veto of this very ordinance, there's no time left to pretend these negotiations are operating as good things. Your constituents are watching and seeing the railroading of this process. We see executive overreach happening before our very eyes, and we don't want to see our representatives cowed into complicity. To botch this budget process is to set a dangerous precedent for what could be decades of how we govern our city and parish. We all know firsthand what a momentous act it is to amend our charter, and while I wouldn't hesitate to pound the pavement again to move Lafayette forward, that is a last resort answer. Mayor President Gillard has voiced a few times that he thinks the charter changes happen too quickly. So I'm sure he understands that we need to take our time with this process. There's a fallback in place and plan with the current budget, which while not perfect, is workable. Don't feel back into a corner and abandon this duty to your constituents. This is too important to mess up. Lastly, the administration, our mayor president, our legal team, Ms. Coops, and our wonderful accounting team are all helpful voices. Ultimately, though, the use of tax dollars is your responsibility, and your constituents are imploring you not to take that lightly or relinquish that power to others. Please override this veto, and please do your best to represent the constituents of this city. Thank you so much, and have a good night.
Thank you. Is Jackie Lau, did she come back in? Jackie Lau? Mr. Chair, that was the final speaker. And as far as the official record, we need clarification on what the motion was. It was by Lazar and Cook. What's the motion? To override the veto?
Yeah, the motion is to override the veto.
Okay,
The motion
override
is
the
to
veto.
override
We
the
just
veto.
want it for the record
Okay.
to be
yeah,
over the,
To override the veto.
okay. Okay?
Okay. Okay, let's call for a vote from the council to override the veto.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
No.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5. Yes. Motion to override veto is approved.
I adjourn the city council special meeting.